March 9th meeting of the Escondido Library Board of Trustees. Are there any oral communications?
Yes, we have one from Catherine Fromm. So Catherine, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the podium so they could hear you in the microphone there, the center podium right there. Yeah.
3 minutes. Right?
3 minutes, yeah. It'll start once you get speaking. Fromm, yeah.
I'm Catherine Barber Fromm. I could say a lot about who I am in Escondido because I was born and raised here. I'm a K through UCLA graduate of California Public Schools. Because I'm at a library board, I'm going to pull rank on you. I have a PhD in history, and I taught history at a major university. I have been to the library. I am appalled. There is no book, the New Yorker magazine, the New Republic, the Nation, Harper's, the Atlantic. These were standard fare at libraries. I was told by the director that they're digital, as though they were all digital. No, they're not. I get paper copies of them. And there's also the National Review, which is conservative, and it should also be included. A library is about the life of the mind. I don't know why you're thinking of having a new library. You don't have any books in this one. The nonfiction shelves are pretty bare. What is the point of a new library? I seriously doubt that the taxpayers, some of whom are, to be perfectly honest, pissed off about the current regime of the library, I doubt that they're going to build one. And I suspect, unless you've got some cash of money from all the inflation money, et cetera, provided by the Democrats and the Biden administration, that you're not going to build a library without public support. I cannot stay for this discussion, but I am appalled that you think of a new library when your current library is in inadequate, insufficient condition. And I don't think any of you go in there and look over what's there. If you looked at the nonfiction section, you would see that it's, although every library culls books, there's just not much there. And I think you all ought to pay a little more attention rather than congratulating yourselves that you're on a board at the city. Thank you.
No further public comments on oral communication.
Great, thanks, Zach. We'll move on unless anybody else would like to address the comments of the speaker, or?
As part of the Brown Act for oral communications, you're not supposed to respond to
Okay, great.
agenda items. Yeah.
Okay, great. So what we'll do then at the end is just talk through next week's agenda and if we'd like to address any of what was said. Thank you so much, Ms. Fromm. Okay, great. Moving on to approval of the minutes, would anyone like to motion to approve, or are there corrections needed? So moved. Okay, great.
All those in favor? Motion approved, 5-0.
Thank you. Okay, for current business, we would like to move the discussion on developing a plan for a new library to the end. So just marking that decision. And then we'll start with strategic plan goals section 3.
I'm getting there. I'm sorry. Okay. So this time we will be reviewing section 3, which is support Escondido economy. In the first thing is to support employment, and our adult services department, more specifically Azar Katuzian, is working toward our annual career fair, which will be this year on June 3rd, to enhance technology training and access. We want to increase patron online safety by offering at least 3 social media safety and best practices classes. The social media team will meet in April to brainstorm about some of the ideas and create a bookmark and ideas for the class. Our timeline for this doesn't start until 2024, so we have a little bit of time. So we're brainstorming now to get our plans in place and hopefully start doing some classes and social media on that topic in that timeline. As far as modifying the current facility, we want to increase digital equity by offering 2 quiet private spaces for technology use of study. We are hoping those study rooms are going to be part of our $10 million infrastructure grant, and that timeline is not till 2024 through 2027, so we still have some time. A second part to that is adding the coffee bar with snacks, which we hope to have, but of course is somewhat dependent on funding, so we will see whether or not we're able to pull that one off, but we hope to. Also attract new users by having maker equipment and a library of things. The timeline of that is 2026, and also depending on funding from the, following the infrastructure grant. Engage elementary and middle grade students by offering a STEAM area for coding, robotics, etc. Even though the timeline is 2026 to 2027, we have been actively doing that for 2 years now. In partnership with Cal State San Marcos, we're working with Dr. Sanem Siahan. She comes in, and we have approximately 20 to 25 kids that are between the ages of 9 and 13 that get to do the hands-on STEM learning, and we have student teachers from Cal State San Marcos that oversee that, so that's a great program. We want to create more welcoming spaces by making one improvement to the facility annually as funding permits. That will start in 2024 and is also dependent on what we're able to cover with the infrastructure grant and look at the possibilities post completion of that project. Provide off-site services. We want to look at collaboration with businesses, considering pop-up services in local retail and government spaces, and identify at least one space for a pilot project. We will be discussing that in the year ahead. We're not there yet, and our start date for that is 2025, so we have some time to prepare and plan.
Questions?
Just one. As you mentioned, Dara, it's going to be a couple years out, but with the coffee bar and snacks, is someone taking a look, or will someone be taking a look at what the health department requirements are? Because that may really put a kibosh on what you can do in the spaces you want to have it in.
Yes, of course, we will look at that. We'll also be talking to other libraries that have had coffee, either coffee carts or coffee stations inside the library, how it's worked, because most of them, it's usually a business within the library, and the space is just provided by the library, so it wouldn't be staffed by us. So that is something that we still have more to learn to figure out all of the logistics of installing that and having it in the building.
Well, I look forward to seeing how you're going to handle it. It's going to be a challenge, but well worth it if we can do it.
Yep.
I would also recommend looking into, food truck coffee cart type things where, the health inspection rests with them and they pull in right by the mural or something. Might be a good halfway balance on that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add one thing for the STEM. We also are in a partnership right now with the San Diego Air and Space Museum. They have a STEM kind of bookmobile type thing that mimics mission control, like from NASA. And so we're going to be planning, I think, at least 3 or 4 events with them in the summer where they're going to come up with that mobile so the kids can come and, do some cool stuff. So that's another way that we're trying to meet that goal.
Very nice. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Okay, on to the next. Great. This topic has to do with moving the monthly meeting of the meeting time of our Library Board of Trustees meetings in the future. We had briefly discussed this about 2 months ago, where I had brought up the idea of maybe twice a year moving our meetings into the evening time so that more people might be able to join or, come and provide more oral communication or input. I don't know if you all have had the time to think about it, but, and Zach, I don't know if you've had a chance to look into what is available.
Yeah, so I think one of the original discussions was some of the special meetings where we have potentially a conflict with the Transportation Commission to schedule for those. So those dates are April 6th, July 13th, and October 12th. And the council chambers is available currently at a later time. So if you wanted to do a 5 o'clock meeting or a 6 o'clock meeting, we could schedule the meetings at that time. But it's totally up to your discretion how you want to proceed. Yeah,
Okay.
Say those dates again.
yeah, April 6th, July 13th, and October 12th.
Okay, thank you.
The latest that we could do it is,
Six.
Six.
Yeah. I mean, conceivably, you could start later. It's just we have to coordinate properly with our building staff to make sure they do the cleaning and all that stuff.
Right,
And it's closed up. Yeah.
okay. Well, I would not be opposed to establishing a 6 PM meeting on those 3 dates. I don't know if that's doable for others. And then that way too, we can kind of get the word out there. Sorry?
Does that work for the libraries?
Oh, does that work for the library staff?
Yeah, we will accommodate whatever you decide on a time.
And April 6th, we already scheduled for the 11 o'clock.
Yeah. So we'd be moving that from 11 to 6 then.
Yeah.
Or you can keep that one and just have the other 2, July and October, whatever you prefer.
All right, I have no objections. Okay,
No joke. Yeah, I like it.
Mirk, you good? Okay, then I'll make a motion to move those 3 dates to 6 PM, 6 PM meeting time.
A second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Woohoo!
April 6th, July 13th, October 12th.
Carolyn, it would now be a good time to say that I'll be out of town on April 6th.
What would you like to do, Virginia? Should we?
If we have a majority, I'm okay if you
Okay.
guys still meet.
Okay, so I'll be here.
And I might be out on July 13th.
Okay, well,
One thing to bear in mind is the council is going to be making their appointment for the new seat, and so we'll have to see if the new individual will be ready for the April 6th meeting at that new time. So if both Virginia and her out, there would still be 3 for a quorum potentially, but we couldn't lose any more.
okay.
When is the decision going
It should be April 5th, the day before.
Oh,
so,
goodness.
Yeah.
Should
So
we
we'll,
move it anyway, Carolyn?
I think we may want to move it to accommodate that individual. I'm going to just look at my calendar,
Yeah.
if that's okay.
and the following Thursday is the 13th of April.
And I'm out of town then.
No problem.
So do we need to do a Thursday, Zach?
That's when we have it regularly scheduled. We could obviously shift the days a little bit. I'd have to do a bit more research though with our reservation system to see what's available. But if we needed to schedule different days, sometimes staff uses the council chambers for training and other purposes as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does April 20th look for folks? That's a Thursday, and we could host it at the 6 PM. Oh, sorry. Oh, jeez. Okay, John, are you good with that?
I'm sorry.
The 20th, April 20th, at 6 PM. Because that gives the new person 2 weeks to.
Yeah, to get onboarded.
Okay.
Taxes are due on the 18th.
I thought it got extended.
I think it did.
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay. You have a lot of taxes to do. Jen.
No, I have somebody do it for me.
Oh, that's good. There you go.
Does that work for you guys? Okay.
Okay.
The 20th?
that's 6
Yeah.
6 PM on April 20th.
If there are no objections, I'll just adjust the motion that you'd previously said from the 6th to the 20th.
Thank you. Okay, great. Thanks, Zach. Next topic is National Library Week.
Yes. This year, National Library Week will be April 23rd through the 29th. Last year, the Library Board of Trustees showed their appreciation of the library staff by supplying lunch. This is definitely not expected, although I will say it was very much enjoyed. Staff were incredibly grateful, and this is an opportunity for the trustees to discuss whether or not you wish to do something like that again this year, or not. Sorry, I don't want to feel, I feel like I'm begging you guys to do something.
Well,
But anyhow, so it's up to you to decide if that's something.
okay, well, I remember that Virginia handled all of this last year. Okay, if you're not up for that, if your schedule will permit it, just if you could pass on the contact information for the places that you got it from last year, and I'll be glad to reach out to them.
Okay, awesome. If I could pass a list over to you, they were the 5 that participated were very eager, and it was just a phone call with the coordination of the scheduling with like the day and the time to drop off. But Carolyn did a lot of picking up food and dropping it off for people that couldn't deliver as I was working. So I definitely had help there too.
Well, you're not working from home anymore. And I'm still retired, so yeah, we can handle it.
Okay, thanks, John.
Okay, so I think we'll coordinate, and I'll get a list going, and then we could divide and conquer the duties. But yeah, if I can have some help, I think we could all pitch in to help accomplish that.
Absolutely. Great. Thanks, Tara.
I'm glad to see it was on the agenda, and I didn't have to bring it up, so thank you.
Well, I was just telling Katie, like, it's a good thing I didn't go into sales. I hate that asking for stuff so much. Anyhow, I really appreciate it. It was such a big hit.
Awesome. Good to hear.
Okay, great. Thanks, John. Thanks, Virginia. Moving on to our annual officer election. Sorry?
Should happen in April again.
Yeah, I think it could be delayed till after the new appointment of
Sounds
the
great.
New commissioners.
Okay, so we will reserve this for the April 20th meeting. Works for me. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Okay. We will go first to, Joanna. Talk to us about a social worker in the library. Oh, okay, great. Okay, great. So one of the things that we had been talking to Dara and Katie about, and one of the things I think you guys brought up to us too, and something that we mentioned to the city council, is the idea of having potentially a social worker similar to, our rangers in the library. And that is just to better facilitate help to those who might be experiencing homelessness, or, folks who may have questions or needs that, obviously library staff isn't as well equipped to discuss. Did you guys two want to go into any further detail there?
I think even beyond us knowing some of the resources available to our patrons, a lot of times what we've learned through having the great arrangement we have with the rangers is they have more of a social work approach with people, and have really been instrumental in approaching difficult discussions. We've had people who had health issues, and we were able to put them in contact with the right resources, or help people with housing issues and things like that. And they've been able to recognize that a person is experiencing homelessness and helped us identify that for the approach. So while they've been amazing and wonderful, having a social worker is a trend in libraries that I think we'd have to certainly research more to find the pros and cons. But it's definitely, I don't remember exactly the discussion that we brought it up in, or what was happening in the library, but it's definitely a trend, and I think it's worth exploring and learning more about the feasibility if that would work for Escondido.
So we have a different microphone here.
Oh, Oh, I think, is that, oh, if you just press the button, it should turn green, and then I think it turns on. I think Jorge and the crew might have put that over there.
Well, I first want to start by saying congratulations to you guys on your presentation to council. It was very well received. You guys set the bar really high as the first board or commission to present to them kind of on an annual report type basis. So thank you for going first, and congratulations for doing a really good job. This item came as a follow-up from the mayor. He was really interested to know more about what the idea is here and, you know, what type of research or feasibility studies had been done, potentially where the funding for this would come from. So I just wanted to put this item on to see if there was any more discussion amongst the trustees, if there was agreement about this idea as something that you would want put forward to the council for consideration, and just kind of where everybody was at with that idea, because I wasn't able to provide him with any additional information. So.
Okay, so from my perspective, right, I think what we've been talking about with regard to the Library of the Future and making sure that Escondido Library remains like a mainstay in our community is our role helping with the city's efforts on homelessness. So I don't know, I think every single time I've been into the library, I've either observed or overheard patrons who are experiencing homelessness, and you know what they're going through to get access to the computer for email, or even set up a phone plan, or just get honestly access to digital media, right? So I think it would be a great idea, and I'm totally supportive of investigations as to where have we done this in the past, where has LS&S experienced it. I think that would probably be a great resource to look into, what other libraries within the company have a social worker on staff, and then talking through what that looks like from a timing or a support perspective. Are they there Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Is there really a need to have a full-time dedicated individual? Yeah, so I'm supportive of further research that we can direct, Dara and Katie maybe to talk to LS&S about preliminarily.
Yeah, I will follow up on that. I know we have at least one library that recently decided to get a social worker, so I will follow up with LS&S and also find out about more of the libraries in our immediate area. I know Oceanside in the last year added this. I think in the last year added a social worker.
Well, let me offer a suggestion. There's lots of entities in Escondido who offer free social work services to the community. Possibly we could reach out to them and see if they would be interested in locating one here in the facility on our part of full-time basis.
And we've done that with Interfaith. With Interfaith, we have, I think it's Jen Halverson, is a social worker there, and shared her information so we can put people in contact with her. And we were trying to have her there like one day a week. It's just we haven't been able to set a schedule because she's very busy, so it just depends on her availability. So there's not like a consistent time for her to be in the building yet.
Okay, that sounds great. But there are other nonprofits out there that do this type of thing. Interfaith might be the biggest, but who might have an interest in having an office here.
I think we should. I think that's probably step number 2, John. I think the first step is likely to identify what the requirements for this individual would be, right? So what works well in other areas, and then we can probably go out and find somebody who fits the bill. Do I need to make a motion to have the staff pursue that, or?
I think it's providing direction at this point. So as long as Dara is clear on the direction, then I don't think a vote is necessary.
So when would you like follow-up?
I think, I mean, so our next meeting isn't for another, 7 weeks?
Yeah.
8 weeks?
April 20th.
Does that work? Okay, great. So we'll put that on the.
Dara, do you have a contact for the downtown San Diego Public Library?
Yes.
You do? Okay. I was just going to say I'm happy to like walk over there or set up a meeting with the director because I work directly across the street. So I could just go over and ask a few questions, and I'm happy to do that unless you would rather take the lead and reach out directly.
I can do either. If you're right there and they're willing to take the meeting, that would be fabulous. And it might be good that it's a trustee just to kind of have a different approach. But I'm also more than happy to reach out to Miguel and see what, and he might even refer me to somebody else in the building.
Okay. I would be happy to take the lead because I want to learn more too.
Okay, then great. Thank you.
Joanne, I know this is very, very high on the new mayor's agenda, homelessness. Where do you think the funding's going to come from? Do you think he's thinking that the city might fund this, or do you think he's thinking that LS&S will fund it, or what do you think the thinking is on the funding part?
I don't think it's gotten quite that far.
Okay.
I think, as Carolyn laid out, I think the real priority is to do some feasibilities research. And if there is a model out there that works, a recommendation that can be made that we can put some cost to, generally speaking, that's how these things work, is we figure out what's needed and then we try to find the funding to make that happen. John's suggestion is also very valid, that there are nonprofits, there are a lot of service providers already within this community that we may just need to connect with and say, we have the space and the individuals who have the need are here in our facility, and we would love to provide a space for you to come and do what you do, but within our four walls. And that may be a mutually beneficial arrangement that doesn't cost anything other than the in-kind support that the city would be providing by providing the space, and that LS&S would be providing by having, staff that would interface with that person and, that kind of thing. So I think it's great that the library has made a connection with Interfaith, but as John pointed out, they're the biggest name and probably the biggest organization in our community, but there are many, many others that are probably very willing and able to take advantage of a partnership if we were to reach out.
Okay, great. Any other comments? No? Okay, great. Dara, we'll do your library director's report, and then we'll move into the discussion about the new library.
Okay, so we're going through our February highlights. Our Healthy You series, the meditation and mindfulness, is going well. We're consistently seeing roughly 15 to 17 people attend. Our Escondido Writers Group continues to meet every other Tuesday, and they had 20 attendees in total in person and 12 on Zoom. And they're really a great resource. They meet right next to my office. It's fun to hear them read their writing out loud, and they have a wonderful time. So it's really a great group that I'm glad we've been able to watch grow. The second Saturday concert is slowly coming back. We were up to 54 attendees in February with 19 Facebook views. And we had our first historic Escondido program. Unfortunately, due to the weather, we had to reschedule the walking tour. So that will be coming up in April. Is it April 7th?
No, it's near the end of the month.
Okay.
I'll find it.
We'll get back to you on that date in April. But we had 8 in attendance, which, while it is a smaller sum, it was our first time for that program. So I'm hoping that grows, and it was well done. It was well presented. So any of our history buffs interested in learning more about Escondido history, definitely try and drop into the next one. In youth services, we did a soft launch for Como Se Dice. And I probably said that wrong, so I apologize. It's our evening bilingual story time. We started to see numbers falling off from our PJ story time, so we're trying something new with the bilingual instead. The participants learn Spanish in a fun way with books and songs and activities to explore the language and culture. It was well attended. it's it was well attended, but I don't have that number. I apologize for that. But the story time is going well, and our toddler tales continue to be incredibly popular, averaging 100 to 105 twice a week. So that's 200 people showing up for our toddler tale story time. The literacy department's English as a second language classes continue, and the students are very excited about their progress. We've seen several community members express interest in becoming literacy volunteers to help the learners in their educational goals. And literacy services continues to grow. In fact, they're taking up offices all over the library at this point in time, and the team's very excited about what the future will bring. And I wanted to follow up with the walking tour will actually be April 22nd, and they're going to meet in the Pioneer Room. It's a Saturday. It's at 11 a.m. It's 11 a.m. So if anyone missed the first part of that, you can still join the walking tour.
And it will be in the newsletter that goes out. So if you want to see more about it, it will be in the April newsletter.
Any questions or comments related to Dara's report? Okay, great. We'll move on to John. Discussion on developing a plan for the new library.
We'll go over a little bit of recent history, which thank you, Zach, for pulling all that up. I was amazed at how many things you have to consider when you're looking for a new library, and then we'll talk about, if this is something we want to push, how do we move forward? Okay, the general rule of thumb for a library size is a half a square foot per person, and that apparently still holds true today. The existing library, as you know, is 40,000 square foot, and at that point, that was 1980, and that was adequate at that point. In fact, it allowed for a little growth. But now we're a city approaching 160,000. We'll look at a little bit at a couple different council presentations. I only went back as far as the March 2013. There's been other attempts that go back clear to 2000. Every one of them has gone basically, obviously, nowhere. Just to point out, though, the city owns the entire block where the library is located now. All those buildings along Broadway are city property, as are the Pioneer Room and all those buildings along Calmia. There is also, well, let's take a look. Zal, can you put up the March 2013 presentation?
So the 2013 image they had of a proposed library, and I apologize, this is very grainy. They only had, this is the only access I could find, but this was a rendering. They had the inside. They also had, I apologize, a rendering of the outside.
Yeah, and the person taking this picture, or this is drawn from the perspective of a person standing on the corner of Broadway and Second, and that would be the northwest corner. Looking back, and that tall structure you see there on the corner entrance is the mural would still be there, but you would see it it's the way it's constructed. There's actually a patio area, outside area between the two buildings, and there was another rendering that showed the walkway between the two buildings. I don't know if you have that.
Yeah, I only found these two images
Okay.
from 2013.
Okay, I found out this morning that this was done by an architect out of the Bay Area, San Francisco area, who has apparently designed and built several libraries within California. And this, again, was 2013. If you go to that council presentation, and I've got the date if you want to look at it, you'll find that this facility is roughly 40,000 square foot again, maybe a little bit bigger. And the thought was to build this, link the two, and then there was some thought about either renovating or starting from scratch with the old building and replacing it. You could also, you could take this several ways. You could transfer everything to this building, scrape off the existing parking lots and build a new tying into this building, and then at some point take down the old building and make it the parking lot. There's all kinds of ways this can be done, but it would be fully utilizing the entire block between 2nd, 3rd, Broadway, and Calmia that the city owns. This to me seemed to be the cleanest option in that there were very few other entities that had to be moved or dealt with if we were just taking away their parking or whatever. This one has a minimum of the newer state requirements for surplus land apparently do not apply here. So it would be the cleanest way to go if this or some plan like it were done with the existing block that we have. Zach, can you show the other one?
Yeah, and what I found the other one in the presentation was the proposed sites for near Grape Day. I wasn't able to locate anything on the existing site, but
okay. Well, this is good. This John Masson, who was on the council at the time, was a strong proponent of this, and it basically we would buy up all the businesses on the north side of Woodward and take all that property over and have the Grape Day Park, and the green area would extend out through what is now that parking lot, and the parking lot would move further to the north. And then there were modifications on that, which had everything in the existing city-owned property, which is south of Woodward. But that would require a rather extensive parking structure, and the Center for the Arts was very antsy. I said in this presentation in 2016 about losing the parking that they would need for their larger events. So that would have required a rather extensive parking structure, either buying or condemning land and all kinds of stuff that would require a lot of work. Anything that's done to that drainage, well, I guess that's the Escondido Creek that runs through the property, would have, there's all kinds of city, state, and federal things that have to be done when you're dealing with a waterway. This was a massive undertaking, and at 2016, the council was kind of all for it. The mayor at the time said, "Okay, let's. I want more public input on this before we go any further," and that was the end of it. It was never brought up again. I don't know where the city is strategic plan-wise on utilizing this property, but I think we need to find that out. But I would suspect that putting the library over there is not high on the hit parade right now. That would just be my assumption. Don't know if there's any fact behind that. Okay. Can we go back to the next slide? Okay. I didn't print out I've got a couple things I found on the internet. Here are 5 pages, about 70 or different steps and items or more that have to go, you have to should go over in developing a new library, including community input, developing a building committee, the role of the committee, social media plan for community input, hire a consultant, et cetera, et cetera. It just goes on and on and on. But apparently, in just reading all a lot of the stuff that's been written, you can just Google it. You need a detailed, realistic plan with milestones that is completely supported by local government, city departments, and the entire community. If you don't have that, you're not going to get very far. I think the problem in the past, just looking at all this, is that we've never had a cohesive plan for the plan. We've never had complete buy-in of both city elected officials, city departments, and it hasn't been properly brought forward to the community to lay the keel of it and get going. Just taking this from my experience with dealing with projects that take several years, if you don't have regular reporting on the progress with updates to the people in charge, plans go awry. So that would be something that would have, in my opinion, would have to happen. Let's see. So let's move to the third slide. So what do we do? I personally think we need to work with city and talk to Library Foundation, Friends of the Library, other people who are strong supporters of the library, and develop a you initially we would need a consultant hired to help put this all together and help us move forward. And as I understand it, in a conversation yesterday with someone from city, that we're looking at probably $100,000 for that. And city's finances are such that there isn't $100,000 that at this point they'd be willing to put up, but we could look for a grant. The foundation, the Friends could all put some money forward in something like this. But I wouldn't spend a dime of the trustee fund without total buy-in from city that you give us the money to hire this consultant, and we will make this plan something that we'll do over the next probably 7 years. Okay. What do you guys think? What do we need to do?
Well, I think realistically, John, I was involved in some of that. I think realistically, we've got to have somebody on the council that this is a big, important project for them. I don't know who that would be, but I think you got to have somebody up at that level who is also kind of your person that is the champion of this library project, because you've explained it very well. I've been through eminent domain. That is absolutely so costly. So that part that John wanted to do, John Masson, that would be extremely expensive. Then the other option you talked about, where you put it on the corner over here and build a parking garage, that was a big issue and talked about. I don't remember in those discussions anybody talking about rebuilding building a new library on the site that we have now. Do you remember that, John?
I found it in the city council presentation in 2013. I had not heard of it previously.
I do remember.
I remember there was a lot of discussion about expanding down past Woodward, and then there was several council persons liked the idea because we own the property to not do that and put the library on the corner of Woodward and was that Escondido Boulevard? Yeah. I remember that discussion.
There were always also environmental issues because of the gas station in there.
Yeah.
That was a big no because of that. But also there was discussion about putting library and expanding the existing library, and we even had a model built by the consultant, by the architects for that.
I think that might have been before I was on, but I think realistically, though, you have to find somebody on that council that would be the champion
Somebody who'll push it.
of this for us.
Okay.
I don't know the council.
I would be happy to work on that. I can think of two right now.
Good. That's where you have to start, because if you don't have that, you can do all this work for really, and there's no interest.
Yeah, and the plan, if the city, if we get a plan put together, this plan has to be bulletproof enough that council members change, mayors change.
Sure.
It's got to be some plan that's in the city's operating procedures until we get through it.
Well, one thing that might be an advantage to enhancing the site we're already on is the fact that we have this grant, the infrastructure grant.
True, but I think that can, I don't know, as long as it's going to take to do this, the improvements we put in this building, in the library building from the infrastructure grant, it'll be time for another one. I don't know if any of that money can be used for this purpose because of the way that the grant was constructed. I don't know.
But if you improve the existing library, you can do some of that with the grant, and then the expansion part wouldn't require us to bring the existing building up to where we would like it to be, because it had already been done by this particular grant.
Yeah, good point. Okay, so far we have get champion, and I've got plural in parentheses on city council, and then we have to have what would that take? Would we be asking the council to pass a resolution telling city to go out and get a consultant bid, and then we would try to come up with the money with using the city grant writer. The city has sources for grants, as well as try to come up with some private money to fund the initial the hiring of the consultant and all that person or that group would do to give us a plan and tell us what we need to do. And I wonder, if was anybody around in 2013 that would remember Jack Anderson was on the cusp of remembering the name of the consulting firm up in San Francisco.
Isn't it on the plans that Zach just showed
It
us?
should be.
Yeah.
If we went back to that, we might be, I don't know, that might possibly save us some funds if we looked at something that already had been thought through and planned for the site.
They were actually heavily involved in the design of the new library. They were traveled down here a few times a month just to do that. And they even built a model of the new library. So if we could find they were and go back to them, you're probably right. We could help us in that process.
Yeah, that was Jack's idea.
Yeah, because he was involved in it. He was actually the chair of that committee.
Okay. So what usually kills these things is money or lack thereof. And this one, no doubt, if I remember correctly, this one was like $39 million back.
Correct, and it was already well into the plans. The later idea of Woodward and Grape Park was kind of an idea to build out the Grape Park and make it more like a city center. But the previous one was we were almost there, except for funding and putting it on the ballot.
And you wouldn't want to put it on the ballot unless you'd had a lot of.
You are so right, John. If you don't have everybody on your side, in my experience passing bonds, you can't have even one little group that's against you. You got to have everybody on your side.
Well, if we had our own little presentation, wouldn't have to be ours, but if we had a presentation that friends, foundation people, trustees could go out to various groups around town for the next couple of years. If everybody just did one a month, and figuring you could do maybe, take 2 months off. So that would be 50 different meetings that just the trustees could have with various and sundry groups, including Rotary clubs, people with money, people with influence.
John,
Mobile home parks.
John, wasn't there a presentation made to Rotary Club about the new library? I think there was one too. Back then, I believe there was.
I don't have any memory of it.
Jack would be a very good resource because he worked in the city long enough that he understands city politics really well. And he also was, as Merrick said, he was the chairperson, I think, of the
committee
or whatever we call it.
And I think he made the presentation to Rotary Club.
So he might
Okay.
he might have some really good ideas.
That makes sense. I talked to him for a few minutes this morning. I could obviously do that more and talk to some people at City some more, including Joanna, and just see if we can get a consensus on what the best way forward is. But I couldn't ask foundation or trustees or anybody else to put out some money unless we had it in black and white from the city that we're going to do this.
In this scenario, right, like Sloan City wins the race, I think our biggest asset is going to be public support, right?
Yeah.
So I think we, in the next year or so, should focus on getting the word out there, develop a plan for like public outreach and public support generation. I don't know if LS&S has like a framework for I don't know. I'm always into like methodologies, right? So like, is there something out there that has worked in the past for people to build a new library, and can we
you said
bring it in and adapt it for us?
Right, what you said.
Oh, sorry.
Develop a plan for public support, and you said something else.
Outreach.
Okay.
And then, from there, I think we definitely need to establish a committee to help with what it's going to take, everything it's going to take.
And we should include some community leaders as well.
Absolutely, Merrick. Yes, indeed. And I think too, I think there's a lot of opportunity, not just for grants from, say, the state or traditional grants, but I think Mackenzie Scott, yes, she just gave like a multi-million-dollar grant to one of the schools here in Escondido because
School district.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
And
only 16 million.
it's only 16, but hey, I think she has a lot more to give. So it could be something that, we start conversations in that way as well, with benefactors or, so that we don't come and, empty-handed to the table. And I think the more work we do up front to garner support across the community and show, look, we have 5, partners that want to join in, right, on this building, I think that'll make it easier for us to get members of the council involved. And then from there, I think, is when we start, okay, let's have a consultant, let's have a consultant drop what it's going to take. So start small, probably.
Okay, so I've got, I guess establish a committee is first, and then develop a plan for public support and public outreach, potential benefactors, and as soon as we have the committee,
Council support.
council support, I think that's, and we couldn't have more than, 1-2 from the council on it.
Yeah.
Have we talked to, can I intervene here?
Yeah, please.
What?
Would it be possible to talk to the Economic Development Department to know what would make it financially feasible to them? Like, what would get the city's attention?
Okay, that's what I was doing yesterday. Great minds think alike.
There you go. Okay, yeah, I think I would like to bring up this discussion again in the next meeting, especially because, we'll have a full board at that time, new at least one new individual. John and I did the committee for strategic plan, so I want to be able to give people the opportunity to get involved. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, I'm going to be back talking to economic development at the city tomorrow. And I was planning on talking to Jack again, as well, Jack Anderson, as well as maybe someone from Friends, like Linda Parker or whomever.
Yeah.
If somebody else wants to jump in and, we can divvy up the tasks, or I can, just keep doing this.
So what I would be interested in is, the Chamber of Commerce obviously has a lot of business connections, and so maybe bringing it up there, that we're looking for people to become involved, and also, looking for partners, and then maybe even connections outside of the city who, people have worked with in the past, or may know people who have a lot of money and can, philanthropists or something like that.
The chamber's going to have new board in July.
Okay.
That's when they'll be in there, so that would be the time to hit them. We're getting some lame ducks right now.
Okay. So maybe we try to get on their agenda or talk to the new leadership
Yeah.
in the July timeframe and just say, hey, this is something we're thinking about. Obviously, we have a long way to go, but we're looking for connections to other folks who have done things similar in the past or who might be interested in, supporting this endeavor.
Okay, and then also the Escondido Community Foundation.
Yeah. Sure.
All right, so I'm on that, so.
Okay, great. But I think, I think my message overall is, obviously we are extremely sensitive to the economic situation that has been in existence since COVID and is developing, right? So I just don't want it to seem like we're completely out of touch with what's going on. And we're taking it very seriously that to move forward, we're going to need a lot of help. And we don't expect the taxpayer to foot this bill entirely.
Yeah, and we've talked in the past, in fact, at your presentation, you mentioned, joint use facilities, and there's a potential source for funds there.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Okay. Anything else? No? Okay, great. So we have April 20, we'll bring it back up. And then in the meantime, John, you'll meet with Jack and some of the other library folks to see what their ideas are and committee development.
And at least two people on council, and as well as I'll make that 3 people on council, as well as at least one person at city.
Okay. Okay, great. Well, with that, then we'll move on to and around the room. Anything to share about your library experiences or books or anything of that nature? Miracle, I'll start with you.
Actually, I haven't been to the library in a while since it's been raining. The games were postponed and everything. But I know, guys, I was thinking about this public comment. Can I comment on that right now, on the public comment we had in the beginning, or no?
You say that again?
I was going to comment on a public comment we had in the beginning of the meeting. I don't know. Yeah, I was just thinking about what the lady said, and I know we're trying to do, and not trying, the library staff does their best to have everything that the community requires and needs in a library. And apparently, she didn't like the digital version of the materials that she was looking for. Is it possible to still get them in a printed form as she gets them?
So those were removed in printed format. She was asking specifically for the Atlantic, Harper's, New Republic, The Economist, and The New Yorker. We do actually have the Atlantic in print format. The other 4 we haven't had in print since 2018. And this was the first request we had for them.
Yeah, I see. And was that the same person that actually commented on bare shelves? And because we had that before.
No, that was a different person.
Oh, okay.
But it's the only request in all of those years, wanting them specifically in print. I mean, definitely now it's on our radar. Should we get more complaints in the next, I don't know, however many months? But more and more magazines for libraries are significantly more expensive than what you see for an individual subscription. And EBSCO is our vendor for periodicals, so a lot of times they will just transition it over to an e-format and send us an update.
So
if we don't, if financially it doesn't make sense to go and get that elsewhere, we usually won't, as long as we can provide it in one way or another. Additionally, we do have Linked Plus, where we can get Harper's and New Republic through San Diego County. But like The Economist was not one, I think it was The Economist that was only owned at San Diego County and like one of the universities nearby. It wasn't, at least in print, specifically in print. Yeah.
And she said that she gets most of it in print herself, so it's not a request for her because she has access. She gets them. She just thinks that it should be in a library.
Yes. In a print format.
In a print format, yeah.
John?
That's it.
Okay, thanks, Merrick. Anything to share?
Actually, I've been too busy, other than getting books out for myself, which is easy, and the audiobooks, which works great. No, that's I'm just reminded by what I heard today that, oh man, I haven't looked at a digital magazine in months. It's just had too much to do.
Ron?
Well, this is my last meeting, and so I thought that I would compliment the library on a few things that I've witnessed over the years. First of all, Carolyn, I want to congratulate you on doing a great job at the council meeting. I thought that really went well, and that was good for them to hear. For those of you, Merrick would know all this stuff, but we have witnessed us going from our meetings in the little conference room next to Dara's office to this, which is so much more professional. So that was a plus. I've worked with 3 librarians. They've all been different, but all outstanding. So that's been great. Got the chance to watch Joanna go from assistant librarian to deputy city manager. That was pretty good. It was after LS&S, the problems with that. Every time we put out minutes, they were just chewed up by the group that was. So when Zach took that over, big plus, big plus. When we moved over here and Zach took the minutes over, we got rid of a lot of our unprofessional activity. So that's been really a good thing. The thing for LS&S, I mean, I was in the school business for 36 years, and I saw angry, all kinds of angry union members and parents, and I've never seen anybody as angry as the people were. We had 3 meetings that's over 90 people spoke. Merrick was there. There were 4 people in favor of LS&S out of all those people. We voted 5-0 not to recommend to the council not to go through with this. They went through with it anyway. And I'll be the first to admit, it has been great. I think LS&S has been very good, much better than any of us on the board at that time thought it would be. I thought about, I really believe sometimes people stay too long in positions, and I thought about extending my time, and then I said, you know, the board is so good now, they don't need me. That always has not been the case. Merrick knows that too. We didn't always have as interested board members as we have now. So I leave this in really good hands, and so I enjoyed working with all of you. Thank you.
We'll miss you.
Thank you for all the years on the board. You've always been a very, extremely valuable member of the board, I have to say. With your breadth of knowledge and experience, it's been a joy to work with you.
I'll second that. Thank you so much, Ron, for all of your guidance and leadership, especially as, you know, John and I were I think the first new members in a while, and I don't think we could have gotten up to speed as quickly as we did without you, so thank you.
Yes, not only your advice, but I've always appreciated your calm and reasoned approach to this. Because some of these people I wanted to jump over.
Well, you saw a little bit of it today. That was like 1/90th of what we saw.
All right. Go ahead, Virginia.
The whole Turrenting room was attacking us.
Everybody.
And Ron, I just want to thank you. I know I'm the newest member, but I've really enjoyed serving with you, and I listened to how you approach things and dropping your wisdom, and I did learn a lot from you, so thank you for your time.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
My update for this month is I received the email notification. I don't think it was a newsletter, just email notification of all the upcoming events that the library is having. I liked, you did say it right there, the Como se dice event for the bilingual studies. I mean, the bilingual event that happened. I love that that's happening, and the really, you guys are doing such a good job at speaking to the diversity of the community and making sure to feel like everybody is welcomed in Escondido, and that comes so much from the library. Also is really happy to see that you're offering students the opportunity to work in the library during the summer to collect community service hours. So that's also such a great resource that Escondido does for our local students. So just want to thank your staff for all of the effort.
Great. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was I predominantly read nonfiction. And there has never been a time when I have gone into the library and come out empty-handed. In addition, I don't think it's in the board's best interest to tell people how to consume their material. So if something isn't there in print, I think that the patron has the ability and power and absolutely should request that. However, I'm not going to put something, or I do not think things need to be put into the library if there's not a demand for them from multiple individuals. So, you know, freedom of speech, freedom of consumption, people should be able to consume material how they'd like, but they should not be imposing their desired consumption way on others. And that's just my 2 cents. Okay.
Carolyn, that man has raised his hand.
Oh, so I think oral communications are over. However, I don't know how this normally works, if an individual wants to come and speak after the meeting.
I'm actually not sure about that. I could try to get a hold of Zach, because so I'm just a records manager. We're
Right.
pretty short-staffed, so that's why I was helping out. I don't really know that much about the Brown Act.
Yeah, I think we can give him maybe 3 minutes to speak if you'd like. Okay, come on up. But we won't be able to respond to your comments. Okay.
My name is Juan Carlos Tapia. I've been living in Escondido for 30 years. I came to another meeting, but this was not the right place.
Okay.
I need to go to the Michelle room.
Oh.
But at the library, I'm listening, you guys. I was taking classes at the literacy program for
great.
adults.
Oh, good.
So I've been there for, well, the last 2 years for the pandemic. There weren't any classes. They were sending material to our house. But it's helping a lot to adults like me who is learning English.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of teachers over there who are volunteers. I'm using the library. Right now I'm getting a tutor for a resume to look for a job. I used to be a pressman in a printing company here in Escondido, but technology took us. So I need to find something else. So she's helping me from the library.
Great.
The other day I just went there to take some copies. So the library in Escondido is working very good for me and for a lot of people.
Well, I'm so
That's all.
thank you so much for your input. We really
I want to say
appreciate that.
thank you to, I guess, to Mr. Ron Gilles who is working on those things.
Thank
That's it. And I'm going to go to my meeting.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, well, wonderful. With that, I will adjourn the March 9th meeting of the Escondido Library Board of Trustees. Thanks.